have a contact person there through whom we arrange the permissions every year. In order to be able to speak as a petitioner, you need to go through sort of an approval process. As a result of having this one person there, it's an expedited process that we go through every year. This year, for whatever reason, that person wasn't there, so our request for approval went through some other channels, and they must have fallen through the cracks, and I kept chasing. I didn't get what I needed in time, and basically it was a Friday before we had to leave. I still hadn't received a formal notification of the fact that we were going to be able to speak, and I didn't think it was prudent in those circumstances to spend the money and go over to the USA without a guarantee that you're going to be able to speak, because if you don't have the permission, you don't even get given the passes to go into the UN. So in the circumstances, we thought it was the prudent thing to do was not to go. So in the circumstances, we thought it was the prudent thing to do was not.
Nothing more can be read into this, and it's not, not supporting the government's desire to be there, for example.
Not at all, not at all. There is nothing sinister that should be read into it. It has nothing to do with our stance or the stance of the government. It also has nothing to do with Spain or anybody else blocking our right to go. It is purely an administrative reason which has unfortunately resulted in our absence.
OK, well, let's focus on that written speech. And like the Chief Minister, you again request a visit from the UN. So do you think this is ever going to materialise?
I remain hopeful. I think it's something that bears requesting, and I think that it is something that I personally would think would be useful, because at the United Nations, Gibraltar is just one of many issues. The people who are discussing Gibraltar, the delegates who are attending there, the people who are listening to the speeches, they have no knowledge of what Gibraltar is really like. And therefore, there may be a tendency to sometimes believe what the Spanish delegations say about Gibraltar. So I think it would be useful if a visiting mission were sent to Gibraltar so they could see for themselves our reality, how much of a nation we are, how much of an independent nation we are, and in particular, how much of a people we are. Because one of the arguments that Spain often puts forward is that we are not a people. And I think that anybody who spends a little amount of time in Gibraltar will see that we are very much our own people, and we have our own sense of identity, our own culture. And for that reason, I think it's good. I remain hopeful that one day a visiting mission will come to Gibraltar.
It's more or less the same arguments year in, year out. I mean, you're asking for more decisive action from the committee. I mean, but what does it say about them and their stance on Gibraltar? And do you think this will ever change?
Well, frankly, I think it doesn't say much about them. And that's why in my speech, I usually have a little bit of a go at the committee, because whereas one could agree or disagree with the Spanish position, at least one can understand them making the points they do. They've been the same historic claims that they have made for years. But the committee, I feel, ought to be doing more, whether it be the Committee of 24 or the Fourth Committee. I think they should be doing more. And one of the things, very simple things that they can be doing, is simply saying to Spain, look, you're asking for joint sovereignty of Gibraltar. How would that ever solve the colonial situation of the country? All that would happen is that we would have two colonial masters instead of one. So I think the committee can and should do more, and that is why there is emphasis in our various speeches over the years that they should take more decisive action, if nothing else, to say to Spain that what they want is unrealistic.